Hey kids, the Mr. Fly here, hope you're well. Now a while back I rode this. This is the brilliant 2018 BMW GS Adventure, and I promised you a video just on the new TFT screen, its features and functions. Stick around and stay tuned, this is that video. Okay, so in the 2018 model year, BMW have made a few changes to the way that the GS Adventure looks. Now clearly I've got my old GS here and the 2018 GS Adventure, so slightly different, but the dash layouts or the instrument layouts on the bikes are kind of analogous. The instrument cluster that I've got on my old GS is still available on the 2018 model if you don't spec the TFT screen, which is new. So just as a little reminder, this is what the original screen looks like on the GS if you don't go for the optional TFT. It's perfectly functional. I think it looks quite nice, but the problem I've had with it is that I find that the actual digits, the numerals on the display itself, on the dials, are too hard to actually read. So what I've done is I use the Nav5 as effectively my instrument cluster, and I've had no problems doing that with it, and I enjoy doing that. I can show you the speed, I can show you the temperatures and all sorts of things that I need to know just on the Nav5 on the bike. So it's never been a real problem for me. However, now, as an option, if you want to, and you buy a new GS, you can spec this, the new TFT screen, which looks absolutely fabulous. It's got a very clever sort of anti-glare screen on it. It's one of the clearest looking TFTs that I've ever seen, and I think it's a really nice piece of kit. So stick around and stay tuned in this video. I'm going to show you a bit about how the thing operates based on what I've learned on it just by having the bike for a day so far. Okay, so when BMW launched this version of the bike, they made great play of the fact that the new TFT screen is very intuitive to use. Well, I've been riding this bike now for the day, and I've sort of got to grips a little bit with it. I have downloaded the manual and had a study. I have to say the manual isn't that intuitive, and also I don't find the screen that intuitive either. Anyway, let me just show you some of the features and functions of the screen then, and what I have found out about it and what it'll do. So I'll just move the camera so you can in a moment so you can see just the screen, but just to show you here what I'm doing to control the screen is using a combination of this, which is the normal I call it the whiz wheel, but it's a multifunction wheel which you can use in and out and up and down, and then this menu button that also operates as like an up and down function. Okay, so I suppose the first thing I should explain is how you actually control both the sat nav, if you've got that, that's another option, and the TFT using just the whiz wheel and the button. And it's very, very simple actually. BMW have done a good job of this. If you look at the TFT at the moment, you might be able to see in the top left here, it says TFT. Well, if you then hold the menu button, just the top bit, you hold it down, you'll see that TFT changes to nav. Now that means I'm controlling the nav, so I can then use the wheel in the usual way to go through and adjust the settings on the nav. And then if you want to go back and use the TFT again, you hold the bottom of the menu button down, you watch this, it goes from nav back to TFT, and now I'm into controlling the TFT using the buttons on the handlebar. Okay, so that's basically how you control it using the whiz wheel and the menu button. I'll just focus on the TFT because you will have seen the sat nav in use before. So just so we don't get distracted, I'll just remove the sat nav so that we can just focus on the TFT. If I can get the key out again. Come on, there we go. And then there's a blanking plate that goes back on there, so which sits on there. So if you don't go for the nav option and you buy the TE spec bike, which this is, it comes with the sat nav preparation, which is the mount and the whiz wheel, then you're going to end up looking at this blanking plate all the time. So I think that's probably reason enough why you need to buy the nav, is just so that you're not looking at that blanking plate all the time. But anyway, for the purposes of this demonstration, we're just going to focus on the TFT screen and the things that does. So I'll turn the bike on again, and then it displays its startup routine, this really fancy graphic that it has on here now. I think that looks absolutely amazing. Okay, so the basic functions, this is the main screen that you're looking at most of the time. What I like about this, when you rev the bike, the RPM goes around this bit here, and these numbers get bigger as the RPM goes around. I'll just start it up quickly. We're in the garage, so I don't want to actually kill myself with fumes, but I'll just show you how that works. We're in neutral. You see the way the numbers get bigger? I just think that looks great. So that's one thing that I like. The overall design of the screen I think is brilliant. So let's just bring it back to life again. I can never get them fed up with that opening screen. It's brilliant. Now, you see here we've got this, I hope you can see, we've got this little down mark here, this little amber thing painting down. In fact, let me bring the camera a bit closer so you can just see the screen. Okay, so the little amber mark I was talking about is this bit at the bottom here, and basically that tells you that there are menu options below the screen. So to access them, what you have to do, what you might think, is that you use the whiz wheel. But no, you don't. This is the weird thing with it. If you want to go down those menus, you don't go up and down with the whiz wheel, which to me would be the intuitive thing. What you do is you press the down button on the menu. That takes you down to the next one. And then, now we can see we've got that the same amber bit again. We can go down again if we want to the next level of detail. And then we can see that this is the My Vehicle screen. It shows you various bits of information about the bike, including things like, you know, your phone status and so on, which is rather nifty. But from here, if we then want to move to the right, we can see, because we've got this little arrow here, that there are screens on the right, then we do use the whiz wheel. We tilt it. You see that's moved along this white bit to go to the onboard computer. We tilt the whiz wheel again, it's gone to the next one, to the next set of trip computer readings, and so on. Tyre pressure monitoring, this shows when you're actually running the bike. These would come up. And then the last screen is around the servicing on the bike. So now you can see that white bar moves across as I move the whiz wheel in and out. So you do use it for that purpose. But again, you can see, if we go to this screen, for example, you can see we've got further things below the screen. Well, to me, intuitively, I would wind the whiz wheel. No, it does nothing. You'd have to press the down menu button. There you go, and it takes you to the next screen. And again, if you want to go back to the menu you're on before, you just press the up menu button again, and then look, I can go left or right here, so I'll use the whiz wheel this time to go all the way right, and then I'll go up again, using the button this time. Then I'm at My Vehicle, and then I want to get back to the main screen. I have to press the menu button again to bring me back to the main screen. So, to me, that's not particularly intuitive. Once you know how it operates, it's fine. But it's not using the whiz wheel to its best of its ability, in my opinion. That's just something that took me a while to work out when I was riding the bike this morning. And again, I just don't think, you know, given you've got this wheel, it would be great to be able to use it to navigate through everything in that intuitive way. What they actually use the wheel for, the up and down spinny bit, is to change parameters when you're in some of the more text type screens. So it does get used, and I suppose BMW had to split it somehow. But as I say, I don't think that's a particularly great way of doing it. Okay, so that's the first thing that I don't think is great about the way that the thing's controlled. And then there's something else as well that I've discovered that isn't all as it maybe should be, and that is the app with the phone. You may have noticed when I had it switched on that you could see that my phone battery status was good and so on. And BMW have actually generated an app that you can get on Android and things like iPhones. It's called Connected. It's the little icon down there. I don't know if you can see that. Let me bring it around. There we go. It's this little app here. Which you can download for free. And what that does, if I fire it up, it basically gives you some of the rudimentary sat-nav capability on the bike, which you may have heard of, as well as other things. If I go up and down here, you can see that it's got, you know, it'll give you the service information on the bike, how far it's got to go to its service, etc., etc. But also what you do on here is download the maps for use on the rudimentary sat-nav, which we'll talk about now. So when I say rudimentary sat-nav, this is the thing where you can hook your phone up using that app to the bike if you haven't bought the navigator as a separate thing. It does have some rudimentary sat-nav functionality to say. So you download the app, and then what you do is you come into the menus here and you go to the, I think it's the My Vehicle screen. If we go into that one, and then, no, not the My Vehicle one, sorry. We go to the right, to the setup, wherever it is, here we are, settings. You can actually set the bike up so it connects to your phone. Okay, so into connections. See, now I am using the whiz wheel. See, I intuitively went to use the down menu to go down, but in fact, this is one where you do use the whiz wheel. So it's a little bit inconsistent, I think. So there's connections. Let's go right there. There we go. And you can see that I've got my mobile is currently hooked up, or it should be. I don't know if I can go right on there to see if it says it's connected. There we go. It's connected. Alrighty. Okay, so now, theoretically, you should be able to go in and use the navigation function built in on the bike. You see here it says navigation, but it's greyed out. If I go down here, because it says I've got a down button, it says action not possible, check connection. So I've gone through the manual and so on, and even though my phone is hooked up to it, I can't get the basic sat-nav function to work on here. Don't know why that is. I think maybe it's one of those things where it just needs another generation of the software, maybe an update to be done. There's some little things about it where it just feels a little bit, I come from the software industry and I know how hard it is to test software before it goes and gets released. It just feels a little bit like maybe BMW haven't done their thorough testing on it quite yet. So maybe it's worth waiting for a month or two and they've done a little update on the software. So there we have it. That's my sort of first impressions, if you like, of the new TFT screen on the BMW GS and GSA. Now, I know I've focused on some of the negative things there because what I want to do is kind of point out as much as I can. I've been through it with a fine-tooth comb as much as I can, having the bike for a day, and just point out some of the things that maybe aren't so good about the display. Because whenever you see the marketing blurb and the stuff that magazines, when it first comes out, it's always positive stuff. So I just want to show you kind of the other side of the coin in terms of usability. So I hope that's okay. Please don't get me wrong though, because that screen, believe me, is absolutely amazing. I've used a number of the TFT screens on various bikes now. My favourite until now had been the KTM one, particularly on the KTM Super Adventure, because it's got a very big 6.5-inch screen. Well, this screen, I'm not sure how big this is, but it looks at least 6.5 inches again, so it's exactly the same sort of size. And it's got a lovely clarity about this screen that I've not seen on any of the others. So the clarity is amazing. The coating on the screen, whatever they've done to stop it being glary when the sun's behind you, it works an absolute treat, because it looks superficially glossy, the screen, but actually when you're riding there is no glare off the screen. They've done a really nice job of that. And I think once that you've used the thing for a bit and you've played around with it, you'll get used to the fact that it seems like the user interface is a little inconsistent in the way that it's controlled via the whiz wheel and the button. That's just me and the fact that it's new to me, and this is just the first few hours of me trying it. So don't take too much credence on what I've said about it being not intuitive, because you will pick it up and it will become intuitive to you. I'm just saying, coming from a background of using just the whiz wheel on the sat-nav, it doesn't feel quite familiar enough to me yet. So sadly, it's come the time that I've got to take this beautiful bike back to those lovely people at Barnstormer, actually. So thanks very much for the guys at Barnstormer for lending me the bike for an extended period so I could get to grips with the machine. I have to say, the 2018 GS Adventure is a lovely, lovely motorcycle, possibly the best motorcycle I've ever ridden. So if you haven't seen my review of the GSA generally, do check that out. I'll stick a link at the end of the video. And I hope you found that some interest. If it's the first time you've seen one of my videos, it would be great to have you subscribe, but that way you won't miss any of the other videos that I do. I don't just do stuff here in the garage, but I go on tours with the bike, I do vlogs, I do how-tos, I do product reviews, all that kind of thing as well, and it'd be really great to have you along. Okay, I hope there's been of some interest, and I look forward to speaking to you next time. Till then, this has been the Missenden Flyer. Cheerio.